Plowing the Past. My name is Kendall Motes, and I am here to talk about New Holland agricultural's history and the people that have shaped where we are today. My name is Kendall Motes again, and I am a sophomore student at Ithaca College. I am a Grassland FFA alumni of 2023, so I am just here to hear about the history of the town that I grew up in and the school that I went to and the program that I was a part of. Today we are here with Don Weaver. He's the class of 1975. He grew up on a dairy farm and has a couple older brothers that were also in the FFA. So we are just here to hear about all of his experiences for being in high school and then post-graduation. So Don, could you just tell me a little bit about what got you into FFA?
Sure. So my older brothers were involved. My oldest brother Nelson graduated in 1970. And we grew up on a dairy farm, and he was very involved with officers and things, and my next brother, and it wasn't even a question whether I was going to be involved. That was kind of what we did, and our dad supported us. We weren't allowed to play sports. We were allowed to be involved in FFA, but when we left school, we were expected to come home and help on the farm. So I don't remember thinking about whether I even want to do this.
Okay. What were some of the activities in high school that you really enjoyed within the FFA?
Well, I think as a sophomore, our advisor teacher was Cliff Day, Mr. Day, and we had a real close-knit group of guys, gifted young boys, and so we formed a parliamentary procedure team and under our advisor, and we went through the different contests, and it was fun. We became really close as a class, and we went all the way to states and won. And so I think that was one of the highlights for me, was that winning that highly competitive contest at that time. There was many teams to try and beat, and we were at the way end, and everybody was getting tired of it. And I just remember we decided we're going to go in there with lots of enthusiasm and excitement, and I think we woke up the judges, got their attention, and we won the states. So that was one of the highlights.
That's amazing. Now, did you get to go to the national level to compete then?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It was just, might have been even regional. I don't really remember, but I know we won about $400 and we went on a trip.
That's amazing.
As a team. So
where did you guys go on a trip?
went to New England states, somewhere up. I think we ended up at Bar Harbor, but don't quote me on that.
Okay, so did you go on the trip with with Lloyd? With Lloyd? Okay,
Yeah.
the interviews are kind of running together now, but yes, Lloyd was telling me about that trip. Okay.
Yeah. So,
and Cliff Day went with you guys?
yes. Oh
yes.
yeah.
Wonderful.
Lots of memories.
Now, what were some of your supervised agriculture experience projects that you had in high school?
So as a dairy farmer, I had interest in cows, and so I won a chain calf, and I knew my classmates, and my dad had Holsteins, and I wanted to win that calf. A chain calf was one that got passed along each, and so we had to write an essay. And I was pretty sure that I knew who was going to win the Holstein calf, so I decided to write for the Ayrshire because I thought the competition might not be as great, and I won. And I ended up having about 5 Ayrshire cows in the dairy farm. My dad supported me in that, and I showed them. So yeah, I didn't stay with that when I went to the dairy farm, and I went with Holsteins, but it got me involved.
Yeah. Can you talk about a time or just a story that you always feel like you have to share about your experience in FFA?
Well, you come in as a 9th grader and you want to belong, you want to fit in and become part of the class, and you make foolish decisions or things you say or do with classmates that I look back on and not proud of. But as we matured and grew as a class, and as our junior and senior year, I felt like there was a lot of things that we learned and matured and learned how to care about other people and value of other people. We're not all the same, and so God created us all unique. And I served at Grassland FFA. As I served there, I was very much involved in the church. And so part of the journey for me was to try and figure out how to be true to my faith and also be committed to FFA or to their values and how to share my faith. That was just, I remember thinking about that a lot, how I was going to navigate that and just what I believed and how to take those beliefs with me in this world.
So I know that you served in state office then, once you graduated. Can you tell me a little bit about that experience, because you also served with Lloyd, who is also an FFA member with you?
Yeah. I don't remember how I made that decision after high school. I think I was pushed probably by my advisor, Cliff Day, encouraged to do it. My parents supported me. They were very thrilled with the way that us boys were involved and growing up, so they thought it was an important part. And so I just remember it was quite an experience to broaden my wings, to get out to all these other chapters that, they weren't a lot like Lancaster County farmers, and it was quite different. And at times feeling out of my comfort zone. Again, when I had public speaking opportunities at banquets, at different chapters would invite different people and I would get invited, and how to share my faith and how to encourage students to do their best in the opportunities they had. So I remember trying to grapple with that and how to be true to myself.
Yeah. When you look back on that year that you had in state office, what were some of the takeaways from the chapters that you visited? Because obviously, Grassland FFA, I mean, we are in the heart of the best soil in the country. We have all of these farmers that have lived here generations, people that have roots here. There are so many chapters. I mean, especially now when you think of WB in Philly, and you look at those different chapters, so different. Can you talk about seeing those types of changes, or just how we stood apart from others?
Yeah, I don't really know that I have a whole lot to say to that. I realized that I was a part of a very unique class. There was a core of 10 or 12 young men. A lot of them ended up being ministers or leaders in the community, and I realized, especially later in life, that I was a part of something special for the class of 75. And when I toured around a little bit, I had, a lot of that time was spent in training as well, which was life-giving to me. But just different chapters, I realized that the strength and position of some of those chapters weren't maybe the same kind of experience that I was having here at Grassland.
Yeah. Now, I know you grew up living on a dairy farm, but then I do know that you developed an agribusiness. Can you talk a little bit about post your year of office and then where your career path led you?
Sure. So, I forget, after that time of being a state officer, I come back to the farm and it got to be slow, and my dad said, go get a job at a factory, and there was one nearby, so I did that. And in no time I was the manager of this one small department, and that just kind of amazed me. I realized that I have to keep growing my leadership skills, and I just never thought I would go back to farming. Everything I touched broke, and I didn't think I was a very good farmer. But when I got out there in the business world, I realized that what I was experiencing back on the farm was something, more that I wanted to do. I got married, and I didn't want to be traveling the country. So my dad said, hey, if you want to farm, it's one of the amazing things about my dad. He was 50 or 52, and he said, Don, if you want to farm, come back, I'll let you farm, and I'll retire, I'll get out of the way. And I just always amazed at that how my dad gave that opportunity to us boys to farm, and he didn't hang on to it and push us off the farm. And so, I came back to farm and realized that I love nutrition, and we had a crisis on the farm with bad water, and that affected our cows. It also affected our firstborn child, was severely handicapped. And I studied all this and started reading everything I could, and realized that we were drinking bad water. And out of that, lots of people came to us for answers, and I started a business called Homestead Nutrition. And it's been 30 years, and I just think I'd like to give credit to God that He opened those opportunities, and FFA was part of that. I look back as I served as pastor for 25 years bivocationally. I used a lot of the skills and things that I learned as an officer at Grassland and state officer, all the things I learned for leadership and parliamentary procedure. I remember using those skills in church, and yeah, I just feel very blessed.
Can you talk a little bit about Homestead Nutrition and starting that business?
Yeah.
I mean, starting a business is not easy.
Well, I was in a partnership with my brother and dairy farming, and I had this keen interest in nutrition and livestock. I realized as I was going along that we had problems with our cows and nobody seemed to have answers, so I bought a computer and I started buying all kinds of software and things that I could do to balance my rations, and I felt like I fixed the problem, and then people came to me with, we were using way too much fertilizer, and we had all this manure from expanding our herd, and we had high nitrates in our water, and so that was the kind of the core of how, and there was some rough years there in the 80s with rain, a drought, and so we needed additional income, and so my brother encouraged me to grow the business, and so I was kind of a one-man show for quite a few years, doing rations, and brought in some better products to help the cows and the soil, and one thing led to another, and I started hiring people, and I tell people sometimes, I don't know if you could say it, but ignorance is bliss, kind of that I didn't really know better.
Yeah.
So I just said, yeah, let's do this. And I felt like God led us and blessed us. And now I feel like I have a staff that's, I've sold the business to my children, and they're much more educated, qualified, and doing an incredible job. But I still have, as a founder, I love to be there to help them succeed.
Yeah. So do you still dabble here and there with the business?
Yeah, I enjoy entrepreneuring, thinking of new ideas or making new connections around the country. So that's what drives me every day, to bring new opportunities to the business.
That's
so
wonderful.
I'm there to root them on.
Did you get to travel a lot for your job?
I do.
Okay.
I do. We have dealers on the eastern half of the United States, so I travel quite a bit, give a lot of presentations. I do a lot of public speaking, and I look back at the other thing in FFA that I didn't talk much about was I was involved in a public speaking contest, and I just remember Mr. Day just helping me and trying to, he got it started in me that I could do this. I did well. I didn't win, but I did well, and I kept practicing, and then of course being a pastor and a minister, I was able to do a lot of public speaking. People really can connect if you tell a story of what's going on in your life, and so I would do that a lot in my presentations with traveling now with the company. I tell a lot of stories of, and people can connect to my story or to in their lives.
Yeah. Speaking of connections, I know that your class that all graduated together is fairly close. Can you talk about how you guys still stay connected today?
Yeah. We had Christmas dinners for years, every year, and you know how life changes, and soon it was too often. And there was a break for a while, and I guess we kind of got to that age where in our early 60s we would like to reconnect. So just a year and a half ago, we had a gathering of just about everybody at Lloyd Hoover's barn, and Cliff Day was there. So it was just incredible time together, hearing about everybody's lives and what's going on. And I remember I kind of was helping to facilitate that meeting, and that time of sharing, and I don't know how soon it was that Cliff passed away, but we felt like it was providential that we had that gathering, and Cliff got to speak, and it is with fond memories of our experience. I became very close to Cliff, Mr. Day, over the years. I learned to know his family. I traveled to New York to meet his parents, and just found him to be a true brother later in life.
Yeah. Now, is there anything that you wish I had asked you, or anything that you'd like to add on at the end of our interview?
I can't think of anything, but I guess just I appreciate the opportunities that so many teachers gave me. I think I had Mr. Robinson in ninth grade, and I can remember working with him. He was a young farmer instructor, so when I was farming later, he was coming into our farm and advising us. I deeply appreciate that. Of course, Doc Herr, I would have him at times. Just amazed at his having a big dream, and here it is today. Mr. Ogline, now Dr. Ogline, meant a lot to us as kids, 9th graders, 10th graders, and then we became real close to Cliff Day. And that, to me, those looking back now at my age of 67, I value greatly the efforts and the energy that people put into my life. I had a pig project that I didn't do well with, and I almost let them die. And I look back at that and I think, just how poorly I did when I had my first project, and hopefully the successes I had later in life were learning experiences.
They made up for it.
They did.
This is a great place to end. Thank you so much for talking to us today, and thank you guys for watching Plowing with the Past. Stay tuned for more videos just to learn more about New Holland agricultural's history.